Hey Peepsy Doodles, welcome back to part 2 of making your own clay protection dragon's egg. So part 1, we just went over all the supplies, everything that you're going to need. So part 2, here we are starting down here in the witchy room. We are going to fill our egg, and then we're going to go upstairs and we are going to make the actual clay part of the dragon egg, and then I'll kind of explain what to do afterwards. Sorry. So first of all, what you're going to want to do with your egg is you're going to want to put a hole in it. Now, if you got the eggs that I did, these paper mache eggs, there is a plasticky type layer on the inside of the paper mache, and it can be a pain in the butt to get through. So I highly recommend you get yourself a really, really sharp point object, a really sharp like X-Acto knife to cut the hole. If you're a kid, I tell you to get your parents to do it for you, because I mean, this took me a hot minute, but you're gonna want to put a hole in your egg. Now you can try to do it with just a slit, but for me it was really hard to get ingredients in that way, so I just put a hole in it because I know that I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, and so putting it in the side, you're not going to have your ingredients fall out, because like if you put it in the bottom, how are you going to keep your, so putting it in the side, or I mean you can put it in the top if you want to as well. Either way, just don't put it on the bottom. So we've got our hole. So then you're just going to start putting in what it is that you want to put in there. So got me a little bit of hawthorn. I'm going to put that in there. You're probably going to make a mess doing it, but that's okay. We's all right with that, not a big deal. So let's just pack that beach with some hawthorn. Okay, got hawthorn in there. Then we're going to take some cinnamon. Cinnamon. I should have you guys down on this level so you can kind of see what I'm doing, but I don't really know how to put you down here, so I apologize. So we got some cinnamon. We'll put some cinnamon in there. This is just what I'm putting in here. Please don't feel like you have to use my ingredients. You want to pack your egg, okay? Pack your egg with, you don't have to pack it tight, but put your ingredients that you want to put in your egg Dragon's blood, like I said, mine's already powdered. Fucking love dragon's blood. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just fucking love dragon's blood. Just pour that shit in there. Just pour it in there. It's fine. Everything's fine. Alright. Now we're going to get us a little bit of sage. I'm just taking a piece. This one's from my garden. Please don't feel like it has to be from your personal anything, but it can be. I'm just going to put sage in there. I'm going to take a tiny piece of sweetgrass, because that's what I want to do. Just a sprig. Putting that in there. Now, this is what I forgot to tell you guys in the other video, and I apologize. I did put it in the description afterwards. This is powdered black tourmaline. You can put the whole stone in there too, if you like, if you have a stone that will fit in here. I did not have one that would fit through that hole, so I powdered some up with my mortar and pestle. I also have black sea salt. I have a video on how to make your own black sea salt if you don't have any. Black sea salt is wonderful for protection. Fucking sorry, didn't mean to swear. I'm trying not to swear. Put that in there, and regular sea salt. Put that in there. Alright, so we've got hawthorn, cinnamon, dragon's blood, sage, sweetgrass, black tourmaline, black sea salt, and regular sea salt in our egg. You can put as much or as little as you want. As long as whatever you want is present in the egg, you will have the same effect. So don't feel like you have to use a ton of your stuff to have it be potent, because you can use a sprig of everything and it will be just fine. So now that we got our egg filled to what we want it to be, just make sure that none of your stuff falls out, and we will go upstairs and make our actual egg. Alright, Peepsy Doodles, so we just filled our egg, right? Got your egg, got your magical shit all in there. So now we're going to talk about making the actual dragon's egg, which is the longest part, and there's a lot to it. So I'm going to try to make this as short and sweet as possible, and I'm going to try to edit out what I can, but it's a process. So here we go. So I started out with a little square of aluminum foil. If you make it too big, it's fine. You can just cut off the excess. I just kind of made these ahead of time so that it just kind of made it go a little bit faster. So you're going to start from the top down first. You need 2 pieces. And just kind of start here and pinch and just roll, okay? So then let it roll down to the bottom and then kind of flatten it a little bit. And this is going to help you just make a flat base so that your egg will stand up. That's all. So then you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to go from the bottom up. See, got a little bit of extra there. You can either cut it off or you can smush it down. Either way, really, I mean, it's good. You're good with whatever you want to do. And then I go through and I just kind of flatten out some of the spots, help to turn it into a egg-like shape. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're gonna put a layer of clay over top of it, and then you're going to put your scales on. And so even if it's not perfect, like, that's bumpy AF. But I'm gonna tell you what, once the scales and everything on, you're literally not gonna notice. So I just kind of, there, done. Boom. You've got your core, you're ready to go, and your stuff's inside and safely in there because you have your foil covering it. Well, it doesn't sit perfect yet, but it will once you get, as long as you've got like somewhat of a, so that it doesn't fall over. You know what I mean? It's fine. It's fine because you're going to put clay on it, so it's not a big deal. So then you're going to take your clay. I changed it. I am using Primo, and this is the color green. It's literally just green, and it has 4 blocks. Okay, so I'm going to cut this open. I'm going to take I'm going to take 1/4 of this. I don't know if you guys can see that it's cut into. I'll just show you. I'll just show you. It'll be fine. All right, so it's divided. I'm going to take 1/4 of this, and I am going to use my pasta machine. You guys can, but I want you to roll it out as thin as you can for this layer. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this conditioned, I'm going to roll it out, and then we're going to put it on the egg. All right, so I got my clay conditioned. I got it rolled out. I've got it pretty thin, like it's almost see-through thin, because this is just going to be your layer for your scales to stick to. So basically the only thing that's going to show is the very top and the very bottom. So we're going to just drape it over the egg. Okay, there's going to be some wrinkles, there's going to be some bumps, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. It's going to stick to itself. It's all right. So what I do to make this easy is I just pinch it, okay? So I just pinch this piece, and then I kind of pinch the, like, I put it down to the egg and the pieces where it comes together, like, just pinch it. See, it's fine. All of this is fine, okay? And then I just take my knife, and I cut it where it's got all this extra sheet. Well, that piece, it looks like it's just gonna tear. But that's okay, because then you just flatten it down. So you just want to take your egg, you want to take your clay, and you just want to cover, your core, your aluminum foil, with a very thin coat of clay. So like, this is just the first draping. Sorry, oh my gosh, I just realized I'm shaking this. But like, so there's a little piece showing there, and a little piece showing there, and there's some showing there. Well, we're gonna fix all that, okay? And you've gotta take this and you've gotta re-roll it out and just cover those little spots, totally fine. And then once you get that covered, you know, then you can go through with your finger and you can kind of flatten out any pieces that are folded over because it's clay. So it's fine. You just smooth it out with your fingers. If you need a little bit more in-depth tutorial, I have my Dragon's Egg Part 1 that I posted last year, and I do it a little bit more in-depth because I did it live. But I'm going to go cover the rest of this, and I will be right back. Okay, so now we have our egg. Excuse my background because we got Rammstein on, and so it's going to stay on, so I apologize. So we have our egg covered. So it just went through, like, there might be some creases. It's fine. You're going to cover it. It's not a big deal, so don't worry about it. As long as you have it covered in a thin layer, and hopefully you were able to only use the quarter of your clay, because if you can do it that way, then you should be able to use only one block of clay per one egg. But if you got to break into another one, it's fine. So then you're going to take this little BB that you may have left over from the first little thing. So we're gonna make a little top hat for this guy, and I will show you why. So you're gonna make yourself a little ball, and then you're just gonna roll it so that it creates kind of a little cone, a little teardrop shape. Then we're going to kind of smash it down here a little bit so that it kind of looks like a little cone, like a little Hershey kiss. Okay? Then you're gonna stick it on the top of your egg. I know, ridiculous. So then we're going to pull down on the sides, and this is going to create not only the point for our egg. See, we're just pulling down the sides, just pulling the sides down to blend it in with the rest of the egg. So not only is this going to make the point or the top of our egg, but it's also going to give us somewhere to be able to make a hole so that if you want to put in an eyelet, you have somewhere to put it, because otherwise if you have just a thin layer, you're not going to be able to put it into your into the actual paper mache part. So you're kind of going to look like you got a boob. But and then at the bottom you can literally just kind of move it into your table. Sorry, my table's moving. And that's going to make your flat bottom so that it will sit. Ta-da! So, of course I can always go through and frickin' stress over these, but it's silly to stress because literally everything is covered other than the very tippy top in your bottom. Okay? So now we're going to get into some more stuff. So we're going to go bake this for 10 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit in your oven. So I am going to go put this in the oven, and then while I'm doing this, we're going to be making the scales. So I want you to take the rest of your clay, condition it so it's nice and soft and easy to work with, and then we're going to learn how to make some scales. Of course, I forgot to do something. I want to remind you guys, before you put your egg in the oven, because I forgot to do it, you take your needle tip tool or your toothpick, and the whole reason that we built the top of that egg up to make a little point is to give you room to put an eyelet in if you want one. So just take your toothpick and just like, I'm just going to use this as like a little, just a little example, just like very lightly in the top of it. You don't have to go very deep. Not that this is going to show what I want it to show, but you just put a small indent in there so that you can screw your eyelet in later. So I forgot to do that, I just wanted to put that in there. Alrighty, so we got the egg in the oven, So now we're going to work on, oh my god, the scales. We're going to work on the scales. So I just kind of went through and nothing, it's fine. I went through and I conditioned my clay so that it was workable and easy to put in my pasta machine, because that's what I use, is my pasta machine, okay? If you have one, I use it on setting 3. And I guess I should say for what we did with the egg before, I used it on setting 7 to make that really thin layer. So for this I use it on setting 3. So I'm just gonna go through. Sorry, this is gonna shake you guys. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. So we've got, see, it's quite a bit thicker. So if you are rolling it out by hand, then think of it this way. However thick you made your very thin layer for your egg, it's double the thickness for the most part, okay? So I'm not gonna measure this, but this is about what you got, okay? So, I mean, it's still thick, but definitely not see-through, okay? I would say maybe like the thickness of like a quarter. So like if you laid quarters down on both sides, and then, or like, yeah, maybe a quarter, or a nickel. Laid them down on both sides and then rolled your rolling pin over top of that. That would be about the thickness that you're looking for. So we've got it flat. So now we're gonna take our leaf stencil. Sorry, my husband's got goodness going on there. And we're going to start stamping out our leaves. Now, sometimes they're gonna stick, sometimes they're going to come off inside of here, which is fine. If they're sticking out, you can just pull them out. If they're not sticking out, you can use your trusty Q-tip, like that one. I just take it and I push it out because the Q-tip doesn't make too bad of an indent. So while the other piece of the egg is in the oven cooking for 10 minutes, I am just going to go through and make a shit ton of scales. And I can't tell you how many. Even though I've made a ton of eggs, I literally can't tell you how many it is. But it's a lot. You know, go through and make as many scales as you can out of this, and then take the excess, bunch it together, and re-roll it out, and just keep making scales until you can't make scales anymore. I did take a little bit left. I'm going to leave like half a chunk, because at the very end we'll be making a layer to 2 layers of thinner scales, and I'll show you when we get to that. So I am going to go ahead and I am going to make a ton of scales. I'm going to wait for that to come out. I'm going to wait for that to cool, because you really don't want to put these on there while your egg is hot, because if you do, then they kind of get melty and sticky and hard to work with, and your fingerprints show, and that sucks. So get yourself your scales made, get your stuff out of the oven, let it cool, and then I will show you what we're gonna do. Alrighty, so we have our egg. Our egg cooled. We have our scales. We got a ton of scales. It's gonna be great. Okay, so now we're gonna start. I'm gonna show you guys the first couple rows, because on the mini eggs, there's a row, if you do it like mine, where you kind of have to double up, and I'll show you. So we're gonna start with the scales, and I put them, I don't know, eyeball it. You know what I'm saying? Eyeball it. Like, I don't know, 1/2 inch from the top maybe. One, two. We're going to take our third one, do the same thing. Make sure that you go up high enough so that your scales aren't like, it's gonna kind of look like a flower from the top view when you're done. See how many you can fit in there. Sometimes you have to widen them out a little bit. Sometimes you got to put them a little bit closer together so that they fit. Sometimes you'll have little gaps between them, which is fine because you're gonna cover it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. Right now I fit 6. Okay? So you got a little bit showing on the top, and you've got your first 6 scales. Okay? So now when you start the second row, you're gonna start them in between your 2 scales here. So just like that. So you're gonna go in between each of the other scales so that the point is literally fudge, not fudge, is in between the first row. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Shit's just making noises. All right, so now if you notice, the space here starts to get pretty big. So we're gonna do one more row in between. Okay. So with each one, you're going in between the two scales from the previous row. And then this next row after that gets a little bit different, but then it's the same thing after that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about once I get this. Okay, so there's the third. See, we're starting to get the dragon egg shape. But see how big this is now? Like, so these two scales here, here and here, are your third row. This one right here is the second row. So you've got this huge space in between it. And if you try putting a scale there, you'll notice, I'll just stick one there, that it doesn't fit. So we're going to put two, okay? So you've got your third row, which is here and here is your third row. This is your second row. You're going to put a scale here and a scale here. So let me show you. So 1, 2, to kind of cover up. So this was your third row. This was your second row. Here's your fourth row. So then here you're going to put a scale here and a scale here. And these two pretty much touch. So this side, let me find where I got. I'm going to put another scale there and another scale there. So you're basically just covering up. I wish I could do it here so I can show you guys. Nope, I can't. It just doesn't work. So another scale there, another scale there. So now you're going to do one here and one here to cover up the little points. Basically, wherever you see a point, you're going to put scales. So I'm going to finish doing that round, and honestly, that's the only round that's different. Well, it's the only round that's different in that way. The round at the very bottom is a little bit thinner to make your egg sit right, but otherwise, that's about what you got. All right. Okay, there's your fourth row. See how there's some that are closer together, and I know that it looks weird here because it's not really the same, but once you get more scales put on, so we're going to go down to our fifth row. Our fifth row, you're going to do every space. So in between, in between, in between, in between, all the way around, and you know, make them even. So here, and there, and there, right in between each of them, okay? And here, and here, right in between. The in-betweens of the last row gets a scale. One for each. Okay, so that was our, what, fifth row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth row. Each one gets a scale. You're going to do the same thing on the sixth row and the seventh row. Each one gets a scale. So you're going to go probably maybe 2 more rows, and then you're going to stop. So let me do a couple more rows, and I will be right back. Alrighty, so you see how I'm holding this too? You've got this part up here that you already baked, which is hard, and then your part at the bottom, and I kind of spin as I go and add the scales, because if you hold the scales, especially if your clay is warm and you've conditioned it well, then you're going to put your fingerprints or any dents, or if you have long nails, you're going to put nail marks in them, because I've do it all the freaking time. So I go down to about here. So maybe like 2/3 of the egg, okay? And then I bake it. So then I'm gonna go bake it again at 300 degrees for 10 minutes. I'm gonna let it cool before I put anything on it. And then I'm gonna do the last half of the egg, or last third of the egg. So basically with this bottom part, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have probably one more, if not two more. So if you need more scales, this is the perfect time while it's baking to make more scales. One, maybe two, depending on how far we come down more of the regular size scales. And then we're gonna take that little piece that we had left over from before, and we're gonna make thinner scales than these. Probably about half the size of these. Very similar to the thickness that we made for the original covering of the egg. The reason that we do that is because it's the very bottom. So let me show you, because I have a couple that I already cooked. So you have one here, okay? The bottom, see these, how these are a little bit thinner? It's because they lay flat nicely if they are thinner. If you make these thicker on the bottom, because you don't really see them. See what I mean? I mean, they sit, you don't really see it. You only see the little spikes that come up, which is all you really need to see. They can overlap nicely if they're flatter, and if you don't make them flat and they're too thick, then your egg kind of gets bulbous and it raises up too high. It's not really flat. So one, maybe two more rows. We'll see how many we can fit in this, and then we're gonna do a row of the thinner scales. So go ahead and make yourself some more of your regular scales. Make yourself a bit of the thinner scales, a little bit thinner, like half the thickness of these. Bake your egg when it's 2/3 of the way done, 300 degrees for 10 minutes, and I will meet you guys back here to finish the rest of the egg. Thicker scales, thinner scales. Already love muffins. So baked, whatever. It's 2 in the morning, it's fine. So this just baked for 10 minutes. We allowed it to cool completely. So this is what we have so far. We got us a real nice 2/3 of the way done dragon egg. All right. So then I showed you guys in the last little clip, I've got my thicker scales here, my thinner scales here. You can kind of tell the difference from here. So we're gonna keep going the exact way that we were before. We're just gonna go every other, just like y'all were doing. Same thing. It may be a little bit harder depending on how soft or how warm your clay is to stick it, just because the scale or the clay is now hard again. So don't worry, that's normal. Just kind of put them on there. Just put them on there. It's fine. It's all right. And then depending on how much room you have at the bottom, sometimes from here, you know, it just kind of depends. You may be going straight to your, so I'll show you guys. We have, you're gonna see me, I'm trying to show it so you can see me. My lighting sucks. Like I said, it's 2 a.m. So this is kind of what we got. So I have room for one more row of the regular scales. So I'm gonna put one more row of the regular scales on there. And the way that you can tell if you have room for one more row is when you put your regular scales on, they don't overlap yet. See what I mean? You put them on there and they're still fitting fine. Once your scales start to overlap when you put them on there, like side by side, then you know it's time to switch to the minis. So we got, oop, that little guy's peeling off. I hope to gosh darned it, I did. I was like, I hope that I have enough scales made, and I do. All right. All right, that was our last row of the regular size scales. So really, I mean, you put it down, you need one more row. That row is going to go around here, and that is going to be your thin scales, okay? So from here, you're going to do the same thing that you were doing, put them in between, but they're going to start to overlap, and that is okay. You can kind of spread them out a little bit, but they're gonna overlap. See, here, they're gonna start to overlap, and it's okay. It's all right. That's why we made them thin, because it's not a big deal. See, they're gonna overlap. Don't worry about it. It's what makes the butthole of the egg. So it's fine, okay? It's okay. Don't stress about it. Don't stress about things. Just let it happen. It's fine. So this is your last. You should be so excited. This is your last row. I'll show you guys. See how they're overlapping? It's okay. Make your butthole. Make your dragon egg butthole. It's fine. Hope to God I made enough scales for this, and it looks like I did. So I'm just going to show you with the very, very last one, the way that I make it look all nice and pretty. So you've got one more. See how you've got one more here? I will take this one and I will lift it carefully so you don't rip it. Lift it up and place that last scale. Oh, I lifted the wrong freaking one because I was looking into the camera. Lift the other one. Place the last scale so it goes on top of the one that you just placed, but underneath the first one that you placed, if that makes sense. See what I mean? So that they go in a circle and you don't have one that's on top of both. So you just lift it. But that's your dragon egg butthole right there. That's the bottom. That, my friends, is your dragon egg. Now if you look at it, if it's a little bit lopsided or whatever, it's fine. You just kind of give it a little press because it's the bottom of your egg. Okay? You're not going to see it. It's clay. So give it a little press so that it's even the way you want it. There's your egg. There's your eggs, love muffins. You just made yourself a protection dragon egg. So what we're going to do with this, once you here, I can't flip you. I'll show you in a second. But what we're going to do with this is we're going to bake it one last time to bake the rest of the egg for 10 minutes at 300 degrees. When you're done, let it cool completely. I would just let it sit out. You know, let it make sure it's real cool. So me personally, I forgot to show you this in the other video because this stuff is kind of expensive, but this is the only stuff that I have found. It's Varathane, Ultimate Polyurethane, water-based. I will put a coating of this over top of it to protect it. You do not have to. The clay is hard. I mean, it will last you for quite a long time. If you're going to put it outside, if you want it to stay from getting dirty or anything like that, this is the best stuff that I have found to use, but that's totally up to you. So when I'm done baking it, I will put a coat of this, and usually I do 2 coats, but I will do at least a coat of this at the very top. You can also, at this point, which I told you before, I forgot to put my hole up top, but this is also the point once your egg is baked that you will take your little eyelet and you will screw it in the top if you want to make it a charm to hang. And then that is when you're done, that is when you will do any magical workings that you want to do in your circle, in your sacred space, to turn this and all of your ingredients on the inside into an actual working protection amulet. This is not the time, I don't have the time, and this is not the video for me to show you how to do that or what I do for that. I just showed you how to make the egg, how to put it all together. Now you can take this, put your own magical spin on it, and then you has you a dragon egg. Here you go. There you have it, love muffins. Your very own mini protection dragon egg that you made all by your freaking self. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a lengthy video, and some of you said that you don't mind lengthy videos, and I appreciate that, but it is now 2:15 in the morning. I am tired. I am hoping this video makes sense. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything whatsoever, please leave them below and I will address them as I have time to. I am going to leave these eggs out. These are the other one. I made a bunch of other ones before I did this. So I'm going to leave these eggs out and let them dry overnight, get them painted, and not painted, oh my god, see now I'm getting tired. Get a coat of varathane on them, and then tomorrow I will do my magical protectionness on them and get the green one hung up in my daughter's bedroom. So I hope you guys have an awesome night. Thank you for being patient with me, and I will see you guys soon.